She's a menace to society. I really set out today to make mortal enemies, and I'm so sorry. Hey besties, it's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. So there used to be this trend where people would post videos called popular books I hate. I got to thinking, the last time I made one of these was, I believe, in like 2020, so it's been a few years. Instead of talking about popular books I absolutely hate, let's just talk about popular books that I think are overrated. And I know I will not be making any friends with this video because I'm about to say a lot of very popular books, so I totally understand if you hate me. But please don't leave hate comments, because those are mean and they kind of hurt my feelings. The first book may be very controversial for me to say, but I'm gonna have to say Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey Newquiston. This was by no means the worst book that I've ever read, but it also is absolutely not the best. Like, I don't really understand why everyone loves this book. It's like a political romance. I do love that it's queer. We love a gay romance. Love that, love that. But the book itself, like the actual prose, it's giving heavy millennial vibes. And I mean that as an insult. As a millennial. Like, I truly am a millennial. Like, I have a Harry Potter tattoo. Like, who am I to say that? It just was kind of cheesy and I didn't like it. Also, a big issue I had with this book is that the sex scenes were so vague, and it wasn't that they were closed door, because they weren't really closed door. There were on-page sex scenes. It was that they were so vague that the mechanics of what was going on between the two main characters was very confusing to me. I actually have not watched the movie yet that came out, I believe, on Amazon Prime, so you'll have to let me know in the comments if I should watch that. I feel like it could make a cute movie. The book itself is okay. It's cute-ish. I just feel like it's way too hyped up. That's why it's on this list. I just feel like everyone and their mom is like, oh, Red, White, and Royal Blue, it's so good, it's so good. And I'm just like, it's okay. Like, it's literally like a 3-star book or less to me. The next one is going to be also very controversial. I made this list like literally 3 months ago and I just didn't film this video, so I actually forgot what was on this. So I saw the next one and I was like, people are gonna be mad about this one too. And unfortunately, I have to say Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I'm so sorry. Ah! I know, everybody loves this. I just thought it was boring. This is a fantasy following this guy, I think his name is Fitz, and it follows him from when he is a child. So he is the bastard son of the king, and so his mom like drops him off to live with like his dad's like servants and stuff, but because he's a bastard son, he never really gets to meet his dad and he grows up away from him. And I think the reason they even call him Fitz is because it means bastard or whatever in this world. And then he grows up obviously to be an assassin. But the thing is, for something called Assassin's Apprentice, I thought there would be more assassination, but there isn't. And this book is so fucking long. It follows like, I think it follows like 15 years of this kid's life. I felt like I was reading it for 15 years. I do believe that this is from the 90s, so I have noticed when I have read much older fantasy books that there's just something about them that's just not going with my 2023 brain. I read this earlier this year for my TBR takeover with Elias, and if he's watching this, he's probably like, I hate you, Sarah, because this is like, I think like his all-time favorite fantasy series. I'm not saying I'll never try Robin Hobb again, because I definitely am interested in trying like the ships, the live trader ships series or whatever, because I was told there was more female characters in that, because that was another complaint I had. I was like, why are there only men in this story? Oh, the next one, I'm just coming in really hot. So the next one is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I was trying to make enemies with this list. Like, what are you on, girl? Okay, so I read ACOTAR when it not when it first came out. I think it came out in like 2014 or 2015, and I read it in 2016 because everyone on BookTube was talking about it at the time. And even in 2016, which by the way, I feel like I had bad taste in 2016. Like, I look back at everything I enjoyed and I'm like, okay, interesting. Even then, I gave this book 3 stars, and I don't know what I would rate it now, but I literally found my reading wrap up from 2016 where I talked about it, and I think I was like, oh, it was kind of boring. And it was also Feyre. Oh, fucking hate that lady. She is just an illiterate bitch. I'm so sorry. I don't like her. And obviously I don't like Tamlin either. I don't like anybody. I don't even like Rhysand. I know that's controversial to say. I read the first ACOTAR book, and then I read half of ACOMAF, and I DNF'd, which is really saying something, because everyone who reads ACOMAF is like, oh my god, it's the best one, because that's the one when, I don't know, is it okay to say spoilers about ACOTAR? It's so old. I don't know what's you're allowed to say. I feel like everybody on Book Talk just talks about ACOTAR openly, so if you haven't read it, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't like that character. I don't like him. I don't like him. I am like, did we all just forget when he gave her like Rohypnol in the first book? Like, what I like about ACOTAR is that it's gotten a lot of people into reading that didn't used to read. Like, during the pandemic, I feel like is when like hot girls like started reading. I mean, hot girls have always been reading. Like, we've always been here, we've always been reading, but like new hot girls, like girlies that like hadn't read since high school or just like didn't know that reading could be fun. Those are the girlies that like picked up ACOTAR and Colin Hoover. we'll talk about Colin Hoover in a second. I don't know, I just feel like the romantic girlies could read more besides ACOTAR. Like, there is a girl I know in real life who only reads Sarah J Maas. Like, literally, she will read ACOTAR, then she'll read Crescent City, and then she'll read Throne of Glass, and then she will start the whole process over again, and she just reads those cyclically, like over and over and over again. And I'm just like, girl, that can't be good for your brain. Like, you don't need that much resand in your brain. Like, girl. Why did I think the next one was going to be less controversial? Because it's not. The next one is Finlay Donovan is killing it. Is it Finlay or Finlay? When I say it's overrated, I mean, did I get a different copy than the rest of you? I genuinely was baffled, befuddled. Finlay Donovan was not killing it for me. She really was not. I thought this book was like really poorly written. It just kind of reminded me of like chick lit from the early 2000s. Like, that's the vibe that it gave me. Like, it was giving me like mass market paperback energy, and I don't know how to explain it, but I didn't like it. I really set out today to make mortal enemies, and I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to have a silly goofy time, so anything that I say, please take it with a grain of salt. I read Fourth Wing and gave it 5 stars. Like, who am I? I did not like Finlay Donovan. Finlay. See, that's another reason not to like this book, because how the fuck am I supposed to pronounce that? I don't know. Another thing that I didn't really enjoy was the love triangle. So there are 2 different love interests like vying for Finlay. One of them was a cop, which, okay. And then the other one is this guy that's like a lot younger than her, and I definitely liked him more than the cop. I don't even remember how the book ended. It was literally a mystery that had to be solved. I can't even remember what the resolution was because I thought the book was so boring. I feel like I was promised a different silly goofy time than I got. Like, everyone was like, oh, it's about this woman who's like an author. Someone overhears her talking about her book at a Panera. They think that she is like a hit for hire, and so I thought she was actually going to become a hitman, and that is not what happened. But I think I'd prefer to read one where someone like actually was a hitman. There's just also like a lot of drama with like Finlay's like ex-husband, and she also has children, and I'm just like not a mom book kind of person. Okay, the next book I have on here is a little less controversial. I have It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This is a romance book that I just thought was mid. It is really hyped up. It's about this girl who's really wealthy, and she gets punished by her stepdad, and she's forced to move to this small town where she has to take care of a bar to like kind of prove that she's responsible, and she falls in love with this very like surly fisherman. But it just had that kind of contemporary romance, like really cheesy writing. Like, I kind of feel like Tessa Bailey's dialogue feels like a war crime. Like, it just isn't how normal humans talk, and the amount of times that Tessa Bailey described this girl's outfits and they were the ugliest thing I've ever heard. Jail. One of my pet peeves is describing outfits in books, because I feel like it dates the book so heavily, and half the time the authors do not have good fashion sense. So I'm just like, please leave that out, because this main character was supposed to be like this it girl. Like, she's so cool, so popular, and like the things that she was wearing so many sequins, and I'm not against sequins, but the amount of sequins this girl was wearing, I was like, please stop. The next one I have on here is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I read this for a book club in real life, like for one of my jobs. Like, I used to work at this company and we had a book club. It was my first Neil Gaiman, and I think maybe I need to give Neil Gaiman another chance, because this book was so boring. I was really shocked, because I feel like American Gods is a lot of people's like favorite book. Also, this is such a weird comparison to make, but I feel like the final battle, like there's this whole battle, because basically the concept of American Gods is we have all these gods that get their power from people believing in them, but it follows this guy who is not a god, and he like works for Odin, I think. And there was just so much in this book. Like, it follows a really long period of time, and there's a lot of like time jumps and stuff, and I was not live life loving. I'm trying to remember everything that happens here, but anyway, there's like this like battle-ish scene at the end, and you know what it reminded me of? And I'm sorry if this is a spoiler. It reminded me of Breaking Dawn. You know, in Breaking Dawn, when they get all them vampires together to do the battle and then nothing happens, that is how it felt in this book. I just think it's overrated. I don't know, maybe it's because it's Neil Gaiman, everyone loves it. Also, there is a TV show based off of it. I definitely would be open to watching the TV show, so if anyone has watched American Gods, let me know if it's worth watching. The next one, yeah, no, people will disagree with me. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This is very hyped up, especially among people who really enjoy like horror books and stuff. I thought it was boring, and I did not like the ending at all. I wanted it to be better than it was. Like, the ending, the direction that it went, it didn't do it for me. I know that it did it for a lot of other people. Like, when I've talked about this book before, people are like, oh my god, I love the ending, and I love that for you. Unfortunately, I was not love loving the ending. I was not. Every time I think I'm not gonna say something controversial and yet so brave, I have something new to say. And the next thing, I just wrote Erin Morgenstern. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like the Starless Sea, the Night Circus. I'm so sorry, Miss Erin girl. I'm so sorry, but I do think that Erin Morgenstern is overrated. Like, and at least if you're watching this, I'm sorry I'm like hating on all your favorite books because he literally has tattoos for the Starless Sea. I was not one of the girlies who got it. I was not. I feel like Erin Morgenstern gets really swept up in her own like writing style. She is very like verbose. She writes very poetically, but I think that along the way it can be hard to follow her stories. I think where the Night Circus went wrong for me is that the plot, like the synopsis, like if you read it, it promises like this magic duel between these two magicians over like many years, and oh my god, and there's a circus that only comes out at certain times. It's gonna be so fantastical. And then when you read it, it's a little confusing to follow because everything is told out of order, but it's not like labeled the best, so it's kind of like hard to tell what's going on. And then the duel between these magicians is so lackluster. Like you don't get what the back of the book promised, and that is a pet peeve of mine. I feel like this is for the girlies who like are all about vibes and not actual plot. I did enjoy the Starless Sea more. This is about a guy that like discovers a book where his life is written about in the book. Like as he's reading the book, things are describing things that are like happening like to him, and then I think there's like a secret society or something that he finds. This one was a little bit better. The plot is also very nebulous, like this one even more so than the Night Circus. You're just kind of like, what is going on? And there were like pages and chapters where I was like, I genuinely don't know what just happened. And so I don't know, for me, I'm sorry guys, I think it's overrated. I really do. The next one I'm not even afraid to say. I'm gonna say with my full chest, Ruth Ware. Literally anything Ruth Ware, overrated. I don't understand why this woman sells so many copies. Like I don't get it. I literally don't get her popularity. I have not liked a single Ruth Ware book. I feel like the main character of every Ruth Ware is the same person. I don't even have anything intellectual to say about this beyond that. I just think Ruth Ware is not good. I feel this way about a couple of thriller authors. I feel like I've only read one Riley Sager, but I feel like Riley Sager, well, I read one and I DNF'd another, but I feel like Riley Sager is overrated. I also think that Lucy Foley is overrated. I got hands today. I'm trying to fight everybody. I'm sorry. I didn't even mean to mention those people, and it's just like, it jumped out. The final bitch we need to talk about is Colin Hoover. I promised you we would discuss her. This one is more like, I actually actively dislike her books and I cannot stand how popular she is, but we have to talk about how overrated Colin Hoover is. Like, she's a menace to society. I read an article that she sold more books than the Bible last year. Also, what's absolutely insane about Colin Hoover is that her books could be classified as dark romance in my eyes, but they're just classified as regular romance. Like the toxic things that these men do in her books, and everyone's just like eating it up. Like, guys, please, when will we be released from the shackles of coho? The answer is probably never. It's an epidemic. It truly is, and I believe it needs to be stopped because November 9, for example, that should be a thriller. It's just literally written as a romance. It should actually be a horror thriller. Like, shocking how much people like that. Also, Verity, which actually is a thriller. Like, she wrote that to be like an erotic thriller. What the hell? Wait guys, oh my god, I forgot one book. I know I said we were almost done. I actually am inserting this clip. I had like already finished filming the video and said goodbye, and I thought of this as I was like getting up to stop filming, and I was like, I actually have to talk about this. I have to talk about this. So this is coming in randomly after I was talking about Colin Hoover before the ending. So what I need to talk about is Song of Achilles by Meadow Miller. I'm very sorry to have to be the one to notify everyone that Song of Achilles is overrated. I really think it's overrated. It's boring. It's boring. Now, let me give a caveat. I don't really enjoy Greek mythology retellings. I read this because all the girlies on TikTok were like weeping, like crying their eyes out, being like, oh my god, Song of Achilles changed my life. And I read it, not a tear, not a single tear. Well, there was like one tear, because there was a couple of characters that I did enjoy. Like, I love the main character, Patroclus. Like, I enjoyed him. Why is it called Song of Achilles? It should be like Song of Patroclus, because he was the one that I was rooting for. Like, if he had been my best friend and he told me who he was dating, like, oh, I really love this guy Achilles, we grew up together, we just like love each other, I'd be like, bitch, break up with that man. Also, I just find the Trojan War to be boring. I really do. And there's so much Trojan War, so much. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just like, it was like burning in my heart that I had to talk about how I think Song of Achilles is overrated, because I know that's an unpopular opinion. It's just how I feel. That basically brings me to the end of this list. I realized that I really had a large glass of haterade today because I was just like sipping my tea. Like, why was I saying such insane stuff today? I don't know. I was feeling a little unhinged when I made this video. If you've made it to the end of this video and you enjoyed it, feel free to use the broken heart emoji in your comments, because I know that some people are probably very brokenhearted by some of my opinions here. I'm very sorry. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so leave that in your comment if you want to. And I thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day.